Sometimes. If your team is about to run the roller coaster, 3 of you are green, but Ellis is black and white with only a defib, absolutely. Kill that sucker, give him that kiss of life, and make the run. But if your team is all green with medkits and you are 25 health with a medkit and you see a defib, yeah, just heal up and take the defib for later. No need to go through the hassle. These are more obvious examples, but sometimes the water can get muddy. We're going to spend the rest of this video deep diving into the health economy of Left 4 Dead 2, usually on Expert Campaign, so that when we look at some examples at this timestamp, the answers can come quickly to us without having to really think about it. Where appropriate, I'll also point out how certain aspects will differ from campaign, realism, and versus. But first, if you're new to the channel and you are interested in more deep dives and analytical content for Left 4 Dead with a focus on Expert Campaign, be sure to subscribe because that's what I'd like to do around here. I'm always on the lookout for topics to talk about, so if there's a question you want to ask or a topic you'd like to hear me talk about, let me know in the comments. When first getting into Left 4 Dead, when you get to low health, you instinctively heal. Then, as you play through the game, after getting incapped twice, you start to see black and white, and later discover that once you see black and white, the next incap means death. So your gamer brain makes a connection that the most efficient way to use your medkits is to wait until you are black and white. And it certainly is the most efficient when you strictly look at hits taken per heal. But the more you play the game, you eventually discover that every game is different in their own way, and what is the most efficient isn't always the most practical in the moment. In this video, we're going to analyze these 6 important factors that will help guide decision making when it comes to who uses what piece of healing and when. What game mode are you playing? What items are available in inventories and nearby? Are you about to initiate an event? What is the entire team's health looking like? Temporary health and defibs. So first off, what game mode are you playing? On the surface, this may seem like a redundant ask, but it's an important guiding question that will influence how the rest of these factors are acted upon. Obviously, there are no respawn clauses in versus or realism, so chances are you'll be using your healing items more deliberately and liberally as to not risk death, as defib spawns will vary from game to game, map to map, adding to the importance of staying alive. One thing to also consider, in higher level lobbies, in any game mode, and especially in versus, you will see something like this play out. Let's say it's No Mercy Chapter 1, and you've gotten outside and just finished fighting a horde and 3 special infected in the alley. Your team is all still green health, except for you, the frontliner, who now has 30 health. You are limping. You all now have a lot of downtime before the next horde and before the next 3 special infected spawn. You all have medkits. Technically, the most efficient way to go about this would be to not worry about it and press on. You haven't been incapped, and you can still take up to 2 more hits before you do. You don't need to heal right now, right? Well, in these more experienced lobbies, you will see that 30 health player use their medkit and be on with it. Now, why is that? There are pills that normally spawn in this closet nearby. Why not just walk up to those pills, take them, and then save your medkit for later? If this were campaign, that's not a terrible idea by any means. In realism, no one would really fault you for this either. But in versus, you could get kicked for this. The reason why people will choose to heal here is because their team is running health, but they're limping. And in a game that emphasizes staying together and covering teammates, the rest of the team now has to compensate and slow down to be able to reliably cover for you. The reason this is a problem is because the horde cooldowns and the respawn times of the 3 special infected are independent of each other, but just so happen to overlap here. This is the perfect grace period to get as much progress down on the map as possible. In campaign and realism, there is this layer of confidence that they can just heal and use this move speed to stay caught up with the rest of the team, and they're certain that they can use this health to get to the safe house for the next round of medkits to hold on to anyways, without taking any significant damage. But in versus, any delay here can mean that the special infected can set up an ambush around the alarm car and make you lose. In PvE, it's just a matter of getting on with it. But in PvP, it's a matter of not giving the enemy team that extra chance to fight on their terms. So the game mode you're playing on makes a difference, even for an example that is as seemingly insignificant and small as this one. What items are available in inventories and nearby? To take a page out of Counter-Strike, what I have in my inventory is not for me, but for the whole team. So if all 4 members are holding on to medkits and pills, then the team has 4 medkits and 4 pills. If the team loadout looks something like this, then the team has 1 medkit, 1 defib, 2 pills, and 1 adrenaline. But at the same time, while every item is ultimately for the team's benefit, there is still some etiquette in terms of, I picked up this medkit, so it is my medkit. This layer of etiquette will come into play where, let's say that Coach dies, and Ellis just goes and picks up Coach's medkit before Nick defibs him. Sure, the overall number of medkits in the team is the same, but it's still kind of a dick move on Ellis's behalf. That is because while it is a team game and technically the highest standard of communication and teamwork is the most beneficial, people don't like to take the game that seriously, except for maybe versus. In campaign and realism, once in a blue moon, before an event happens and we're looking at our health economy, teams have never had a problem with me chiming in every now and then to say something like, let's kill in Defib Ellis, coach heal Rochelle, and Rochelle give me your pills. But at the end of the day, you can also look at it like this. If Ellis, Rochelle, and Nick had medkits and then used them either on themselves or on a teammate, that is them using their opportunity to make a decision with the medkit. By taking Coach's medkit while he is dead, Ellis is effectively robbing Coach's opportunity to make an independent decision on his own. It's different if Coach dies and there's no defib and no respawn closet for a while, then yes, absolutely it makes sense to just take his first aid kit and carry it for the rest of the team. But this hopefully paints a picture of the etiquette to explain the sentence, my medkit is for my team, but it's still my medkit. This wrinkle also comes into play where if there are two people left and they are both 30 health black and white with only one medkit available, the person holding the medkit is well within their right to choose to heal themselves. And in fact, it's usually assumed that that's how it would play out. But of course, sometimes it's a holdout event and there are medkits on the ground or other healing items. It's good to take a mental note of where some of these things are, or if a health cabinet is not too far up ahead. It will help factor your decision making in terms of which item to take first. And the last little note about Left 4 Dead 2 etiquette, when it comes to healing items and taking medkits, there's 4 players and there's 4 medkits in the safe house, 1 medkit per person. Where and what is happening? Personally, it's hard for me to quantify which is the more important factor between where you are on the map and what your team's overall health economy is. They go hand in hand. However, the presence of an event like running the roller coaster or holding out on the parade float or the presence of a tank or witch will make you need to start pulling out the heals ASAP. But just looking at events specifically, the takeaway should just be that the time right before actually initiating an event is the perfect time to take stock of what your team's economy looks like. As well, if you're limping and you hear tank music kick in, it's rare to not be a good idea to heal ASAP so that you can outrun and kite the tank properly. Same goes for having to walk past the witch sometimes, but that's a situational event more dependent on what witch removing options your team may or may not have, as well as where exactly the witch has spawned and how fast you're moving. If the event is just a holdout horde where you don't need to run, it's not uncommon to just keep your low health as is. Then if you get incapped, it's not the end of the world, and then heal afterwards once it's time to start moving again. Some of these decisions, however, are based on your confidence in what you can or can't do during or afterwards. What does your entire team's health look like? This one is pretty obvious. Who gets healed is prioritized by black and white first, then lowest HP to highest. It's rare that it deviates away from this. But aside from that, sometimes what's important is just making sure that at least 1 or 2 people are able to remain at high or just running speed, or at least to just be able to take some hits. There is no point in holding on to all your medkits if everyone is running around with 1 HP, because when a horde spawns or just a good charger or jockey spawns, it's easy for a whole team to just take 1 hit each and then all go down at the same time. But it's a good thing that you wait until you are black and white first, right? Temporary health is also a straightforward thing. Pain pills are much better for your overall general sustain, while adrenaline is much better for your clutch situations. But yeah, sometimes it's not a bad play to hold onto pills until something is about to happen, and sometimes you are forced to use the adrenaline to either get out of the 1 health move speed or to temporarily get over that 40 health benchmark. When deciding if you should give pills or adrenaline to someone, it's not a bad idea to look at what their permanent health is on top of any temporary health they may already have. But typically speaking, anyone that's floating around 50 health or lower are the best people to hold onto pills and then adrenaline, especially if they don't have a medkit. When walking around and picking up items in general, pills should be distributed to lower health teammates while adrenaline should be distributed to higher health teammates, and then you can go from there. Keep in mind that any survivor that still has permanent health has never been incapped, and it is possible to have only temporary health without being incapped. When someone is about to be black and white, there's always dialogue spoken by the reviver that specifies this, but that info can sometimes be missed with other things going on, so it's never a bad idea to just type BW whenever you're in that state. Lastly, it's actually fairly common where you will have a team that is healthy, but one guy ends up taking a lot of damage, whether it's because they were frontlining or people just took too long to shove a hunter off them. And so that guy ends up just being the one that gets all the pills for the rest of the chapter because that's just how it happens to play out. And lastly, defibs. So how do defibs fit into all of this? Well, if you have an empty slot, it's never a bad idea to hold on to one, especially in realism and versus. If you have lower than 50 health, no one would bat an eye if you decide to heal and then pick up the defib. The act of killing a teammate and then defibbing them as a de facto medkit is only viable in Expert Campaign and Realism because the friendly fire is very painful there, but Versus is like playing on normal and the friendly fire simply takes too long to incap a teammate and then go through their 300 incap health and then the channel time to resurrect. You're simply giving the other team too much time to come back and ambush you. Maybe if they're black and white with 1 health, but other than that, defibs are only being used when someone legitimately dies in Versus. In campaign, the priority for defibs goes down in general. Medkits bringing you up to 80 health minimum over a defibs flat 50 is one factor, but also players in campaign generally understand that if you remain smart with your healing, you'll never die to begin with. So it's not uncommon to pick up a defib because you have the inventory slot for it, but then later it gets left behind in the safe house. But when you factor the when and where of your team, especially before initiating events, it's good to keep in mind that an alive teammate holding a gun can still protect you and participate in the fight while being healed, whereas a dead body, your defibbing can't do that. There's a legit argument to be made that in campaign and realism, anyone with 49 health or below can walk by a defib and ask to be killed and revived just to increase their health permanently without using a medkit, so that they can still hold on to their kit for later. That is number for number the most efficient way to go about it. Most people, however, are usually quiet and prefer to just heal and take the defib as they don't want to bother asking someone to do that for them. And generally, you never really know what can happen in the few seconds it takes to do all of that. But if someone is black and white and no other medkits are around, it's great to use as a medkit during some downtime, as opposed to trying to play their life out because you never really know what the circumstances are going to look like when they do eventually die. So defibs, excellent tool. Never a bad idea to hold on to when you have space for it. Usually used when people die after a fight and used as de facto medkits in niche cases. Sometimes if a teammate dies near a respawn closet, there can be a decision made to just wait for the closet to kick in order to hold on to that defib, but you can expect to hold off a horde and special infected in that meantime. As well, they may want to be defibbed so that they can keep their Desert Eagle or melee weapon. In a similar vein, there's killing a teammate in the safe house so they can go into the next chapter with 50 health as a cheeky form of heal. When people heal in this fashion, they lose their secondary, so only kill a teammate if they ask you to. If someone wants to be killed, they'll let you know. Most people would prefer to not trade their Desert Eagle for 29 health. There's also the honor side of it, and I'm one of those players. I never really like to be killed in the safe house because I like the idea of just getting through the game the way it's, quote, intended. There's also annoying cases where someone will try to quickly kill a teammate as they enter the safe house because they think they're helping, but then it just ends up with someone being incapped as the door closes and it's just awkward, stupid, and usually just creates more problems than it solves. So yeah, only kill a teammate in the safe house if they ask you to. If I randomly lose my Desert Eagle going into a chapter that has low deagle spawn rates because you think you're helping me or something, I'm taking your medkit when you die. Safe houses are also a great place to kill and defib a teammate so they don't lose their secondary and you can save medkits. So now we're going to look at some examples.
All right, so here are some examples. Some of these I made by design, others I completely randomized. The main takeaway that we're going to see when we look at some of these is that there isn't always just one way to go about things. Sometimes there are just multiple ways that will make sense. You can always try to balance between, do I want more HP now or do I want more resources for later? Try to consider where you are on the map. Try to consider if you know that there may or may not be item spawns up ahead. It's hard for there to be a wrong answer for this. And for the most part, people normally don't care. When I play my expert campaigns, like sometimes I see people, they'll just heal or they'll just take pills. And I think to myself, that's not the most optimal way to do it. But at the end of the day, people like to just do what's comfortable for them. And usually it works out. If it's versus, of course, maybe you want to use your first aid and your pills and your adrenaline, all of your healing. You want to use all of your healing a bit more deliberately so that everyone can stay over 40 HP that they're always running. And we'll just go over them. So here, this is a pretty straightforward one. Who gets the pills? Obviously, Zoe will get the pills. And she could hold on to them if she really wants. If you're close to the safe house at this point, maybe hold on to them for the next chapter. But if you're early on in the campaign, Zoe can just take these pills and immediately down them. All right, now here's the same thing, but Zoe also happens to be holding on to adrenaline. She can give this adrenaline to Lewis, and then she can take and consume the pills. Or she can just take the pills, consume them, and then hold on to the adrenaline. So here earlier, I had some text that alluded to Bogdan's Law. Now, Bogdan's Law is specific to Counter-Strike, and you might be wondering, what does Counter-Strike have to do with Left 4 Dead? They are very, very different games. But Bogdan's Law is very interesting. Basically, it boils down to if you have two people left alive in Counter-Strike, and one of you has the op, the sniper, and one of you has something else, you give the op to the lower health person, because in Counter-Strike specifically, the time to kill is very low, to the point where if you're low health in Counter-Strike, one shot from anything is going to finish you off. But the op is, for the most part, one hit kills too. So the lower health person gets the op, because then that puts them in a situation where any situation is basically like whoever just gets the first shot off first. Then whoever is the higher health person will, have the not op. Now, of course, you can't swap weapons in Left 4 Dead unless you happen to be next to a spawn pile. But in this case, if you want to follow Bogdan's law, Zoe can heal Bill. If one of them is black and white, then just whoever's black and white will get healed. But what you can do here is, well, of course, you guys can also hold on to it. And that could be a little risky, especially if this is realism or versus. Well, in versus, honestly, like the infected are so good at flanking anyone from any direction. But if it's campaign, you can still get flanked from behind. But generally speaking, like your frontliner can be, kind of used as bait. Also, in a similar vein, if your frontliner, gets healed and they take a lot of hits and they go down, a lot of infected will normally aggro to that person that's incapped, kind of case dependent, of course. So this is just something to just think about in general. Would you rather give the health to your frontliner or your backliner? I'm a Bogdan's Law diehard believer. I believe that you can put more health on your frontline, and so your frontline can, of course, take more hits. Obviously, whoever's the frontliner can always crouch, and whoever is the backline can always shoot over their head. That's the ideal way to go about it. So here, this is a bit of a fun exercise. So we're going to, we have literally these 4 items. Now, if this were campaign, how would we go about this? So let's just assume we are just kind of like at the halfway point. Maybe there's an event coming up. And so maybe what we do is everyone's health here is actually pretty good, right? So, okay, it's campaign. So let's say we give the medkit to Lewis, we give the pills to Francis, and we give the adrenaline to Zoe, and then we can just hold on to the defib for now. Or if you really want, you can kill and defib Lewis, and then you can maybe give the pills to Francis and the adrenaline, and then you can hold on to the medkit. Or if you really wanted to use everything all at once, kill and defib Lewis. Now Zoe's temporary health is going to bring her below Francis's health, so heal her, have Francis take the pills, and then Bill can take the adrenaline. If this were realism, maybe you'd probably want to play your life out a little bit more, so you could heal Lewis, and it's kind of like what we did before. We can give the pills to Francis, and then Zoe can have the adrenaline. Not terrible. And if this were versus, probably heal Lewis, pills Francis, adrenaline Zoe. Zoe doesn't need to use the adrenaline right away. She can just be holding on to it because her health will decay at some point. And then once it does get to like 39 or below, then she can re-up this here. And then of course you're holding on to the defib for later. Example 5, same thing, but you can see our health is a little bit switched up here. So if this were campaign, probably like expert, of course, we could probably kill and defib Francis. We can heal Bill, pills to Lewis, adrenaline to Zoe. Right? Adrenaline, of course, you see is always going towards whoever is like the highest HP at the time. If this were realism, you could also kill and defib Francis. Not a terrible idea here. But if this were versus, maybe you would just want to let Francis just heal. You can give the pills. Bill is on a bit of a timer here. Bill can have the pills, or Lewis can have the adrenaline. It wouldn't be the end of the world if you swapped the adrenaline and pills here. Now here, this is one of those situations where it's like, hey, we found a bunch of stuff on the ground. How do we want to go about this? So could honestly make sense is you could have Bill take these pills and then hold on to these ones, and then you guys can also just, someone can just hold on to this or this or something like that. Or if you really wanted, you could let Bill heal. So he's going to have a substantial amount of HP. Francis can take these pills, and you can be on with that. Example 7. So this is exactly when I started to just completely randomize everything. So this is what we're finding on the ground here. Let's theoretically think about what if this was just kind of like at the very beginning of the chapter, like we just started and like things kind of just, went really bad. And this is expert campaign. So what we can do is we can just heal Francis. We can heal Zoe. And then from there, they'll be very healthy, right? Bill could also heal as well. But also what could happen is Lewis can pick up this adrenaline that's on the ground. And then Bill can pick up these pills. And then he could just take the pills, consume them, and then he has the adrenaline. Or another thing that makes sense is maybe you're closer to the end of the chapter. You could kill and defib Francis. You could heal Zoe, and then Bill can heal too, actually. And then at this point, all of this health is pretty good. And then you could do the same thing here. Lewis picks up the adrenaline, and then Francis picks up and consumes the pills. That will put Francis at full health. And then that should be more than enough to get you guys to safe house, and you still have the first aid kit. So example 8, honestly, the way this got randomized, you guys really kind of don't need to do anything. You know, maybe Zoe can take the pill. Zoe taking the pills here just makes sense from there. This lobby is chilling. Example 9, everyone, you know, you guys could either let Lewis take some adrenaline and then let him hold on to another one. One adrenaline is going to take him to 36 health. So once his temporary move speed buff wears off, he's going to be limping again. Also keeping in mind that when these guys' temporary health kicks in, they're going to be below 50. So it would kind of depend. If you're early on into the chapter, maybe it makes sense to double adrenaline Lewis and then just hang on to the medkit for now. No one's black and white, right? And then hopefully, you know, you'll see some more pills along the way. But if you are closer to the end, perhaps, you get to heal Lewis and then adrenaline. These guys can just hold on to it for later, just in case. All right, so this is your loadout, and you just come across a med cabinet. Maybe it's the med cabinet that is right before the roller coaster at Dark Carnival. So it could make sense here to kill and defib Zoe. So now she's 50 HP. And then Lewis can heal Francis. So that's going to put him at a bit. And then here, Lewis can pick up pills and then take the pills. And then from there, honestly, people can just kind of go to town. Doesn't really matter, you know, who takes one and then another or something like that. Bill's kind of chilling. Then so long as someone has an adrenaline afterwards, what else could we do? We could heal Zoe, and then we could, you know, he takes pills, and then he takes these pills, and he holds on to these pills, and then Lewis will take pills, classic, and then he could hold on to his adrenaline again, and then, you know, Bill could take his pills and then hold on to this, and you guys are looking pretty good, and then you still have the defib left over. But of course, you are running the roller coaster. If something goes wrong, remember you can heal someone that's alive, and that person can look out for you. But the person you're defibbing can't do that. Example 11, you guys find a med kit on the ground. So this is kind of, I feel like this is one of the funnier ones to just come across. So this is a situation where I feel like it doesn't matter where you are on the map. In this case, it would make sense for Zoe to take her pills. And then you can either kill and defib Bill, and then you all just can hold on to the medkit for later, or you can just heal Bill and then take the defib. And then all this temporary health here kind of doesn't matter. You can just hold on to these adrenalines for now. That's cool. Maybe after Zoe takes and consumes her pills, someone can give her adrenaline. So this is also one of the funnier ones that got randomized. I think all roads kind of lead to killing and defib Francis. Lewis can just hold on to his pills. Zoe can consume the pills. Bill can consume his pills. Then you still have the defib over here. Or maybe things just finished hitting the fan and you think maybe we kill and defib both of these guys, and then Zoe can consume and then take more pills. And then these two will be healthy and running. Lewis has his answer for his temporary health in case it starts to, you know, dip down. Example 13. This is a lot to take in here. So let's say that you guys just finished the parish parade float. You're not too far away from the last safe house. You could do double heal. You could even maybe do triple heal. And then you guys can kind of juggle some of this around and let Francis take pills. And then your health economy is looking pretty good. You still got the defib and the adrenaline over there. But, you know, there is downtime here. So maybe we kill and defib. It doesn't matter if it's Lewis or Zoe if we kill and defib them. So Lewis is going to be good health. You could even have Bill take the pills here, and then, you know, Francis can take his adrenaline. That's going to put him at 60 HP at least. And then these guys are all going to be pretty healthy. You're going to have a med kit left over, and then maybe you can have you're going to have 2 med kits left over here. And then, you know, after Francis takes his adrenaline, he could have another adrenaline. So that leaves you with 2 med kits. There's just a lot of ways you can kind of just juggle this around, right? I'm not getting too in depth with this, only because I know that at the time that I recorded this video, the first video was about 12 minutes long, and I'm recording this and I see it's 15 minutes long. And we do like our long form videos here, but I don't want to go much over time. It's a little overboard that I went with 16 examples. But honestly, this is still like a little fun, and it's fun to think about. And this is also kind of the beauty of the flexibility of this game in general. And it just kind of depends on what people are comfortable with, right? Like whether you're far from the safe house or you're close to it, you can take some risks. You might think, well, I can just heal now and get it over with, or maybe I can save onto the medkit. It's hard for there to be a definitive right answer with some of these that we're getting here. So of course we could always kill and defib Zoe, and then we found this other medkit. So Zoe's going to be pretty healthy. We could heal Lewis, and then Francis or Bill can take and consume his pills, and then they can give him other pills, and then what we're left over with here is 2 medkits and 2 pain pills. Also taking the fact here that no one is black and white. Do pills, pills, pills. Right? That's really not a bad idea either. And then you're still holding on to all of these. Right? So here, this is a pretty fun time. We come across the med cabinet again. It could just be as simple as Bill takes pills, and then everyone is just grabbing pills. Or Lewis takes these pills too, and then he's got some left over as well. Or you decide we just kill and defib Bill. We just put him out of his misery here, and then Lewis can consume the pills, and then take this, and then everyone is just kind of chilling here with 4 pills and 2 medkits. So here we could kill and defib Zoe, and then Lewis can just take pills and then hold on to these other pills here, and then maybe Bill doesn't need to give his adrenaline Zoe just yet. And that means you're left over with 3 first aid kits, pills, and an adrenaline for later. Or maybe you just want to like maximize how much health you have, and these people decide to just heal up as is, and you still do have a lot of tools to work with, and that will get you with more health. So doesn't matter what your loadout situation is. I would love to hear what everyone has to say when it comes to the overall health economy of Left 4 Dead 2. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe and all that. The next video that I'm going to be working on is I'm going to be analyzing what it means to be a frontliner, a middle liner, and a backliner, or I guess just frontliner, backliner. But of course, just looking at the 3 weapon classes and your supposed role within them theoretically, and then also kind of what ends up actually happening when everyone's kind of randomizing their weapon loadouts. But ultimately, how you want to play in position as each of the 3 weapon assignments. Thank you again, and I will see you guys next time. Yeah, let's fight off the sword. Ready? I'm ready.
Clear! Shit. Here we go again. Ah! Ah! What the hell are you shocking me for?
Ah, damn. Wait, no. Oops. I pressed the wrong button. Okay. Need to rotate him just a little bit. I'm trying to look at the Discord. Is this good, or does it need to be rotated more?
Rotated just a little bit more.
Like forward?
Yeah. Yeah, this is great. Okay, and then one full swoop, just like look up.
Ah, fuck.